Good morning and welcome in, everyone. Let me make sure I get Ashley in here. Ashley, I'll double check here. Which do you like
Hi.
going by, Ashley or
Hi, Brandon.
Ashney?
Oh, it really, honestly, I have no idea these days. I just let people kind of go for it.
Yeah, that's what I didn't even know your name was Ashley at first, and I was
Yeah.
looking, and all of a sudden it pulls up. Oh no, her name is Ashley. So I was like, oh, I better check. I better at least check what she
Isn't that
wants to be
crazy?
called.
One of very many Ashleys in the world.
Well, I
Ashley
love
Chris
the
is my gamer tag, so I'm still kind of using that, even though I would say I've like transitioned away from the Ashley Christ brand a little bit.
yeah, yeah. Have you still been gaming, or have you hung that up a little bit lately?
Yeah, yeah, I still play much lighter than I used to, that's for sure. I'm not able to grind like
Yeah.
Overwatch or any of the other like awesome BRs and MOBAs and things that have come out as much as I wish that I could because I have a baby. I have a
Yeah.
9-month-old, but I am playing Vampire Crawlers on my Switch every night. So I'm kind of transitioning into like, I don't know, mom gamer, much lighter weight.
Yeah, I actually had my daughter in January, so I definitely understand
Oh,
the lack of time and energy.
congrats.
Yeah,
Oh,
thank you.
that's so fun.
It's a wild world for sure, but yeah, I couldn't really. My brother was trying to get me because he had his daughter a week before me, and he was trying to get me to play the new Doom. And before she came, I was like, "Yeah, of course, so, yeah, let's just
Yeah,
crush this
just
thing."
hop in easy.
And then once she came, I was like, honestly, if I'm gonna sit there, I just want to lay and watch a movie or TV. The energy consumption to play a video game in those early months was too
It's
much.
a lot. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a lot. That was the same for my partner. And now he's like, he'll hop in after the baby goes to bed, usually, 7 or 8 o'clock. He can game with the guys again, which is great.
that's what it's all about. Well, I'm glad you were able to make the time today. I've been seeing you all over the timeline, and I got lucky enough to even be on a call with you a while back. But circling back around, you've been on the forefront of content for years upon years now. I think you say 13 years, 60 plus startups,
Hmm.
and I believe you were even part of the rollout of MTS and their media campaign, which
Yeah.
was all the rage. I don't know. It hasn't even been that long, maybe 3, 6 months now.
Yeah. I mean, the show has only existed for like not even 3 months. So yeah, it's still very new and the team is learning a lot and moving really quickly. But yeah, I've been around for some would say too long. It's like, oh, she's not out of here yet. Didn't she? Didn't she like leave and go do something else? Please.
No, that's the thing is you're really in a lot of ways we're on the front end of media and the front end of content. And I mean, 13 years back, most people are just getting their sea legs and figuring out what this thing is, maybe taking their first shot at something. So to see things from that early of a time to now, I'd love to get a little bit of your snapshot of how you saw that rolling out, or did you fall into it where you kind of just stumbled in and then you're like, oh, there's something here. Like how did that whole story start out?
Yeah, like the very beginning of my content creation
Yeah.
journey. Yeah. Okay. So this was back in 2012. I had a person that I was like about to start dating, um, and I was over at his house, and he pulled up Twitch,
Yeah.
and I was like, this is weird. Like people can watch other people play video games. What? That's a thing. And yeah, I thought it was really weird at first, but less than a year later, I decided I wanted to give it a shot. So I built my first PC. I got a webcam. It was like a Logitech C920, pretty old, or maybe that was like the probably an earlier version than that. Um, and I went live for the first time, and then I did that for like 5 years full time. I think it was less about like seeing the future because at the time, I mean, I don't think Twitch even had sub buttons, and a lot of
Yeah.
people were saying, "Oh, I'll never monetize my stream. I just love my community."
Yeah.
And now it's become what it is, and media and content creation, and everybody's building a personal brand. So it's kind of like shocking to think about the way that everything has developed, because I definitely did not have that foresight at the time to know that was going to happen. I don't know if anybody did. Maybe Justin from Justin TV.
Yeah, there are probably a few there. I mean, you almost are looking at Mr. Beast levels of, if you know, at that time and that kind of commitment, you kind of, it was the very elite few, then even the more elite few that stepped in at the level of effort needed to become one of the giants from early days.
Yeah.
Pretty incredible.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty accurate. I think most of the people who stuck with it ended up growing and like becoming relatively successful, and your career as a creator over like 15 years especially is going to have various inflection points where you'll be more relevant at other times and less relevant at other times as well. So it's interesting to see what a lot of those early people have gone on and done, and a lot of them aren't around anymore either. I'm
Yeah.
not streaming on Twitch right now, that's for sure. um, and there's a lot of attrition in the content creation space too. I think the last data point I saw on this was about 3 years the average creator lasts, until they either get tired of it or move on in some other capacity. So
I'm actually surprised it's 3 years. 3 years seems like a long run actually for a creator. I
yeah.
could see tons burning out before that.
Oh, absolutely. That there's a lot of churn, especially with new creators. They're not, you kind of love the end result of the work, and I think this is true of a lot of things. You end up seeing the results that other people have, and you get very inspired by them to the point where you think, oh, that looks easy, or that looks fun, I want to try that. And so you try it and realize that the work involved is maybe not something that you genuinely enjoy doing. And it's really important to be in love with the process if your goal is eventually to have whatever the results are that you desire. If you're really not in love with the day-to-day of creating that thing, then it's probably not worth it.
Yeah, it's definitely because I didn't really have much. I'd say I wasn't that deep into the creator game until maybe a year ago when switching over to streaming. Maybe a year before that on Spaces, but that's kind of creator light. That's more just social audio,
Yeah.
where streaming begins to like, okay, I need to figure out lighting. I got to figure out this audio. You start, and then whether it's TikTok or Instagram, posting videos, editing, all of the kind of deeper stuff. And it really is that to do it well, or even to do it at a basic level consistently, there are a lot of pieces to the pie that have to be done at a consistent basis every single day, 7 days a week. So I totally could get, I spend so much time just trying to build systems so that I can keep the consistency and fine tune it. But you can see in your head that you have to build these systems where eventually you aren't the sole thing creating all of these things, because
Mhm.
it is an overwhelming amount of work on a daily basis individually to post at mass.
Oh, it definitely is. And man, I actually feel like creating content across a plethora of platforms is not the play anymore. Back in, let's say, like 2018, I think it could be a differentiator if you are making content on, let's say, you're live streaming, plus you're on YouTube, plus short video, which I don't think existed at the time, but you still had Instagram and a podcast and like everything else that you would run. And each one of these is in marketing is an entire job.
Yeah.
So that worked because we didn't have such an abundance of content. But in this era where there are so many more creators and there's so much more content, what really helps people stand out is becoming really, really, really good at platform mechanics and tactics, and knowing what kind of stuff to talk about that people will actually care about and interact with. And the problem with making a lot of content across lots of platforms is that you end up spreading yourself so thin you don't have enough time to get really, really good at one place. And what ends up happening is now you are competing with people who are only on LinkedIn. Like that is their only platform. Only on X, that's their only platform. Only YouTube. Like there are strategists and people who know everything about every single one of these platforms now, to the point where if you can't compete with those people, it's going to be very difficult for you to be seen. And so that's why I think, man, I just ranted about diversification, but I think that this is one of the things that creators need to think much more strategically about, is where are you putting your content that you're making, and is that actually the best platform for you, and which platforms are a total waste of time.
That's a really interesting perspective because I would say it goes, and I'm going to say I don't dive deep enough to know everything, but it goes against a lot of what people are always saying,
Mhm.
especially in the CT bubble, which is, oh, we need, oh, it's these X people need to go here and these people need to go here, or you need to get on all of them. You need to be on Kick. If you're on Kick, you need to be on Twitch. If you're on Twitch, you need to be on Kick. If you're on YouTube, you need to be on X. If you're on X, you need to be on TikTok and Instagram. That's and that's why I love having people like you on the show who are really head fully in a space. Like really, the concept of this show is to bring on people who I feel are really elite in certain sectors and can give people insight that and cut through the noise that is the internet now and that is content now. Everyone's an expert out somewhere. Everybody's this, everyone's that, and they're feeding information that's a lot of times very inaccurate on what's going on. And so I think just even right away, you saying something like that is cutting through the noise of what people are hearing on a daily basis or being confused by so many messages.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because you have people who are very successful, like Gary Vee or Alex Hormozy, who are advocating for scale and just posting a quantity of stuff all the time. And they're not completely wrong. Like, there's validity and like lessons and things that you'll learn from posting a lot. But I it's definitely for a lot of creators, it becomes spinning your tires, content creator hamster wheel, and you don't actually make meaningful progress because you're just everywhere versus getting really good at like a handful of platforms. And to your point, I do think that the reason that content specifically becomes so noisy is because a lot of people are, I mean, I almost want to say there are a lot of larpers, like
Yeah.
people who have been told from gurus time and time again, you need to provide value. And so they end up talking about things that they don't necessarily have a ton of experience in. And that's how a lot of bad creator advice actually ends up being propagated throughout industries and platforms.
What I also noticed too is you've got you've got a lot of people on these platforms that are their content is posting about content. Like they're the expert. There's just like you're saying, there's like a lot of LARPing around you know, all of their content is around just content, and it's a large sum of content on the platform like TikTok. How often you hear how to make a video viral, how to do this, and a lot of their expertise is just like this internal wheel of the platform itself. And it
Mm,
does feel like there's thousands and thousands, maybe more than that, tens, hundreds of thousands of creators that get all of their impressions. Everything is just based off of somewhat clickbaity titles around how to get a viral video. And some of the advice is absolutely atrocious. But just the fact the topic is something so many people are trying to do, they just kind of feed into the hamster wheel of, well, people want to know this, so I'm just going to make something up, and somebody's going to listen, and it'll just kind of roll from there.
totally. I do feel like this is changing. I think as people have heard the same repetitive advice more and more, it's making the people who aren't using AI to
Yeah.
create advice or to like give their perspective and advice that genuinely stands out and says something different is more obvious to people now. And so I think that people who have experience are able to be discovered, or at least the trust that they're able to build is very different versus somebody who just says the same repetitive stuff that everybody has heard 100 times. That's a little bit wishful thinking because there are always people who are learning the craft who are completely new to creation, and they hear this advice for the first time and think that, oh, this person who's sharing it is, so knowledgeable. But then, they hear something that maybe is a little bit more complex or goes against the grain, and that is a potentially a flag for them. So I might be a little mm, I might be a little like too positive in my assumption here that it's shifting and it maybe not as realistic as I probably should be.
Yeah, that when you bring up AI, that's I'd love to talk on that a little bit, which what you're referencing a lot of times is even myself, like I'll create a video or have something I'm trying to get some ideas around, maybe some better hashtags, or if you're trying to put stuff out all the time, you're trying to find any way to create efficiency. But when you're talking there, you're also mentioning some of the flaws you see in that is that everybody's somewhat going to AI, but if you've used AI for it, you also know it very frequently is not correct in the information it gives you, and it gives it to you with a lot of confidence. So it's kind of like those gurus where it just says, "Yep, this is it," and then you ask it one question, and it goes, "That's a good point. You know what? I none of that's right. Let me change it all." And oh, let me do some research and come back. Oh, I did the why didn't you do the research the first time? Like, what's happening here? So I'd
Oh,
love to go into that a little bit, the AI maybe spinning content a little bit in the same direction.
oh yeah, yeah. AI is terrible at content. It's terrible. I have I have talked to it so many times. YouTube videos, posts, content strategy. Like, it's to the I'm getting to the point now where I'm asking myself, is this actually saving me time and making me more productive, which is the entire point of this tool in the first place? Or is it wasting a ton of my time because of how often I have to correct it? And I don't know the answer to that yet, but it is terrible at hooks. It's terrible at strategy. Just last night, I was talking to it about a like live shopping business, and it's terrible at business strategy and looking at like market gaps. Um, it's yeah, it's just overall it's not good. The way that I do like to use it though is almost as an intellectual sparring partner,
Yeah.
to stress test the thesis that I have, the tactics that I use, and to help me find data and do research very quickly. But whenever it comes to actually writing anything or using it for YouTube videos, I think there are a lot of people who are doing that right now, and it is creating this like slopification of the entire internet.
Yeah.
Every single social platform is getting worse and worse, and everybody is using AI to reply and comment on every social platform. And what's happening is the people who aren't using AI are standing out a lot more, and you can just tell like their content is from them and it's uniquely human. When I see somebody who uses AI, I can tell immediately. I'm sure you can too, because when you've spent enough time talking to these models, you know the language that they use. And anytime that I see it, I'm like, oh, AI, AI. And do I judge the person for using it? Not really, but do I use it as like a tool to assess their level of thinking or like their depth of understanding of the marketing that they're creating? Yes, absolutely. If you use it too much, you do end up looking a bit amateur.
Yeah. Yeah. There it definitely is, because there are moments I've used more AI. There's moments I've used less
Mm-hmm.
in life in general. And I wasn't a power user of AI earlier or anything. I've been playing with where the lane is that makes sense, where it doesn't. And where I found sometimes that it's good is if you're trying to write a description of something and you have pretty much the content you want to be in the description, you want it just compiled in a little cleaner way quickly, and you're like, okay, this is what they're saying. You kind of hammer it into thing. Can you clean it up into a description for this video? It can tend to do that in an okay way. You're giving it most of the content. It's just kind of piecing it together into something quickly for you. But titles, even hashtags, even things like that, it can get, you're going to get a lot of M dashes if you want anything at length, which is going to be a tell real quickly. And then you're going to have a lot of that same, I know exactly what you're saying. It's almost like a story it tries to tell a little bit in a corny way within descriptions or
Yeah.
titles, and it always feels the same.
Yeah, or it says like it says it puts words together that don't really make sense or are a little confusing, or whenever you use it for posts or like for clips, for example, which some live shows will do, it ends up trying to make a point out of
Yeah.
video that wasn't being made. It's just, it doesn't really understand at the level needed in order to make good stuff. And I don't know if it ever will, because over the last 3 years, I can't say that AI has really gotten dramatically better at least at writing. It's gotten a little bit better. When I first used ChatGPT like almost 3 years ago to write X posts, it was terrible. I wouldn't even post them. I wouldn't even post them. I was like, absolutely not. This is trash. But now it's a little bit better, but it's still not enough that you can just copy and share it. So anyways, if you have any level of expertise in anything, just talk to one of these LLMs about the expertise that you've got and see what it says back to you and see how wrong it is. It is that level of wrong across every single topic. Now think about whenever you use it for workout plans or nutrition or content ideas or literally anything else in your life, it is that same level of wrong. A
What's
real expert would look at that output and be like, that sucks.
and what's most frustrating on top of that is the level of confidence it has in being absolutely wrong
Yeah,
is to me the most dangerous piece of it. It will do zero research, it'll give you an opinion, it'll state it as a fact. If you don't know better to push back, or you don't have the expertise in the topic to push back to where it can get closer to a real answer, it will give
exactly.
you it at absolute confidence. And that's what is the biggest problem, is that people then take that information with absolute confidence and they redistribute it. And the big thing you're pointing at, which I think is the core of the whole thing with AI, is AI scraping a lot of stuff on the internet. Well, most people don't know anything about anything.
Mhm.
So if with you, you've worked with 60 startups, anybody who's worked in business a lot, you'd know that everyday person and even people in business most of the time don't know anything about business, especially in crypto, Web3, all that stuff. So they're mostly the people feeding these engines. It's not like the engine's so specific to just the people that have absolutely proven they know something.
Mhm.
It's like scraping from all these people who confidently know nothing about an
Oh my
industry
gosh,
and
that's
then
a
feeding
really
it to
good
you.
point.
Yeah.
We were just talking about LARPers, like AI is scraping those accounts too. I hadn't
Yeah.
actually thought about that.
It's
That's
not
a good
filtered.
point, Brendan.
Yeah, that's not filtered. And that's what well, I'm thinking about it on this call today as I'm thinking, oh, no wonder. I mean, we're
Yeah,
talking about LARPers being the mass majority of content, and it's taking the mass majority of content and finding its thesis, and it's not filtered to the point. I don't know how much work it takes to get there, but yeah, it's definitely not like, oh, choose these 5 experts and your
yeah.
content comes from here on this. It's just like, oh, here's the internet, come to a conclusion. And it's like, oh, well, these thousands of LARPers say this and this one expert says this. Well, consensus is these people are right then.
Man, that's such a good point.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm
that's the
not.
AI world.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I have something to yell about on the internet today.
Uh, we're all controlled by LARPers, and we don't even realize it. The whole
Yeah.
world is run by LARPers now. And the other thing I wanted to bring up with you, because I think I watched your video on new media
Mhm.
and the difference that is.
Mhm.
I'd love for the audience. I think most people don't understand kind of traditional media, new media, some of these evolutions and what you've really been building with a lot of people. I'd love for you to be able to walk through that so that people can understand. I don't even know how to frame the evolution of media or the difference. I want you to run with that because you know, and I actually don't know as well.
Oh, this is so fun. Yeah, because a lot of people are seeing A16Z talk about new media right
Yeah.
now. And so there's a lot of interest around it and a decent amount of conversation happening. So when you look at the definition of new media, it came out in the mid 90s.
Oh,
Yeah. And it was used to refer to anything that was not traditional media, like broadcast television or newspapers, right? It was anything that was digital. And it lumped everything into the same new media bucket, whether it was somebody posting on social media for a brand or a an article on Huffington Post or a live stream. Everything was categorized as the same. And so we had new media for a while at like the very beginning of the internet. It was used as a term, and podcasters especially attached themselves to this idea of new media. And then we had the ascension of the creator economy, right? And
yeah.
VCs came up with this language again, as they do, the creator economy. They started funding it. They put a lot of money into these companies, and then eventually you see the words creator economy kind of spread out into the actual creators themselves. And so now YouTubers talk about the creator economy, and you've got like people who say that they are content creators and part of the creator economy. And so that's kind of the language that these people use. These are usually people who are building audience as an asset, and their goal is to grow a large audience so that they can monetize it for brands. The the new media and like the current trend is different from the original term when it was first introduced in the 90s. People are using it to explain essentially business media. So it's kind of like the next level up from the creator economy, at least in my opinion. It's like I said it was when the creator economy grows up and gets a real job. That's new media because it's all of the same. If you've worked with content creators or inside of the creator economy at all, you'll realize that new media is really just using all of the tactics that creators have been really good at for over a decade now and applying them to business media. So there are
Okay.
things like, let's say, like Sam Altman getting onto a mafia game with 10 other really interesting people in tech, and they're all playing this game of mafia together around a table. It's really beautifully produced. It's a YouTube video. It got like 170,000 views in, I think, 2 days on a brand new channel for a venture capital firm. And it was great. So now we're seeing kind of entertainment media inside of these tech and business spaces and being applied to people that are usually a bit more prestigious. And there's a bit more depth I can get into here around like the spectrum inside of the creator economy between somebody like Mr. Beast versus a Stratechery, who is somebody that VCs really like. There's a like consumer end of the spectrum and a prestigious end of the spectrum with like a very professional audience. But new media really is like its separate category. Some people say it's insider media. I call it business media or professional media. It's essentially just the creator economy tactics and thinking applied to almost like B2B or business content.
Yeah, when I look at it and I see some of these new media brands coming out to compete and or some of the evolution in this space, I'm trying to I've been spending a little time trying to understand it more and then also understand how we'll see it enter different spheres, whether that's crypto, whether that's what, because in the end, I still see this next cycle to two cycles being the evolution away from the tech,
Yeah,
being so talked about and more into, you're already seeing it. Different blockchains are having companies run on them now without a token involved. It's
yeah.
just infrastructure. So as media evolves and as these companies happen, is how do things, let's say, let's say we're looking at a blockchain, maybe Avalanche or Sol or whatever. I was starting to think, how do we look at new media being entrenched into these blockchains to where they start with all these things building on top of them, how they start to utilize new media to bolster the media presence of these companies onto their chains, which has really been a huge gap for the industry. I'm sure it's something you've been already all over. Like, I guess run through that thought experiment, whether it's in industry or outside industry, of how people should be looking at this going forward, that run things that either have companies within them or they're looking at their own companies. How should they be attacking this new media sector, or
Mhm.
where would it maybe even not make sense for people?
I I love how you're thinking here because you're completely right. I do agree. I think the next two cycles in crypto are should specifically be about crossing the chasm and kind of making more consumer focused content. It's been so centralized on X for so long, even for the companies. And now we're thinking of, short video and YouTube and live streaming and building brands on other platforms, which is great. This always needed to happen. It should never have solely been X this entire time. There are a handful of people who have done YouTube for many years inside of the space, or like short video for many years inside of the space. But I think most of the content arguably was on X. So crypto needs to create content that is more compelling for the average person because it is a technology that people will need to get familiar with and will need to utilize. And there's a lot of like PR that we desperately need in the crypto industry. It is bad. It is so bad. Most people hate crypto, hate AI. If you get on more consumer centric platforms, they will automatically hate you for being associated with new technology. This is normal. There are people who are early on the adoption curve and people who are more mid or late funnel. This is always going to happen, and that's okay. But if we want to meet these people where they are, one of the things that we need to think about that is very common inside of the creator industry is that entertainment travels further than education, because people who make content, whether that's a marketer at Avalanche or a, a known creator or KOL inside of the crypto industry, people know that we can educate, and that's an easy way to add value. We can teach people how to make money, we can teach them how to grow, we can teach them how to increase their status, right? And we know that that's content we can make. We're more entrepreneurial, educational oriented. But entertainment is what the mass majority of people prefer to consume. And because of this, crypto has, in my opinion, not had highly entertaining content for like the majority of its life, but it is uniquely positioned to be able to provide that. There are so many like mechanisms inside of crypto, whether that is live trading. I'm talking to somebody right now who wants to do more live trading streams and
Yeah.
maybe create like a live trading business around helping crypto companies kind of show, anyways, they want to build a whole thing. I think that early on, crypto was very much about the culture, especially 2020 and 2021. And we were very entertainment based, very culture based, very, I think, good at maintaining relevance and being part of the broader conversation. And a lot of that has been lost. And so
Yeah.
now, new media as applied to crypto means entertainment content on consumer based platforms that is still lightly educational, but mostly is interesting and compelling. And the goal is to resolve the public perception and the negativity of the technology.
Yeah. You look at a lot of this, what's going on, and the hope with the evolution of companies. And I'm hoping there's two prongs. One prong, you have the hype. You have a new standard set for, if you're going to tokenize your company, it has to be fully integrated. and it has to be closer to a stock type version of ownership. It will be different forever, but it will have some kind of true integration to the business function and success of the business. So one step, I want evolution there. The other step is the break away from the need of a token. If your platform does not need a token, it can run just like a normal company, but the infrastructure of blockchain makes a ton of sense. The transaction speed, all that, then that 100%, I want to see those two prongs happen. Is you either choose this route and you do it right, or you choose this route and you do it right, but you don't have to talk about a token. You just talk about your business, and everyone is joining the blockchain because they want to engage your platform, product, or whatever, and cut the noise after that. And then, okay, if you're a meme coin, you're a meme coin, and that's a separate category itself. But it seems like for too long now, and it's kind of caught up, it's the old, we're going to do a big raise and we're going to do a token. It has literally nothing to do with our company. It's either a gas token or it's nothing. And we pretend that you own a stock in a company. But at the end of the day, most people get wrecked because eventually it doesn't have anything to do with the company, and they don't want to hold it up with revenue or whatever, because it to them is a waste of money.
Yeah, I think that the token meta is pretty stupid. The TGE meta sucked. I think I was saying that as far back as 2022, which is only 4 years ago still, but
Yeah.
it's very obviously extractive in an industry where a lot of people, at least in the 2020 era, which is when I came in, people were drawn to crypto because of the belief system around it. Like, yay, we get to bank the unbanked. We get
Yeah.
to give more back to the users of platforms or the people who contribute. And as a community girly, like that's the function that I came up in. I want crypto to care about community. I want people to care and to think about their users and to prioritize them more than I feel like these large social platforms and like huge incumbent companies tend to think about and prioritize their users. I wanted like real results for people's contributions. And unfortunately, it's really descended into this like pump fun, people drinking their own urine for
Yeah.
meme coins. Like,
Tattoo your forehead.
yeah, tattoo your forehead or do these I don't know, do these tasks for bounties that are just completely silly. It's such a shame to see really just on almost like the dregs of society that it's drug up as opposed to what I think crypto could have been. And I do think that there are a lot of great companies who are doing good work and are legitimate and authentic and, you know, deserve respect. And a lot of people who believe in the technology still who deserve respect. And then, you know, the other side of it is that they're very much as part of the industry that I would say is not super reputable. And I think that part of attracting more consumers with new media applied to crypto is being honest that not everything in the industry is great, and that's okay, and not trying to, I don't know, monetize your audience or sell them a token, or, you know, it's okay to be real about the drawbacks of this technology and to tell people, hey, like probably 60% of what you see in this industry is terrible, maybe even more.
Yeah. Well, and it's that be honest about, we all have to be honest about if a token is connected to anything. It's all okay speculating and things like that, but we've gotten to a point where we now have companies that are driving entire business units or percents of their whole revenue, and they are generating giant amounts of revenue into a token so that it can tie into the business. Like, that model now exists, so it breaks the rest of the models. If you're not doing that now, you are now one step away. And some of these chains, they may need to stop pretending like it matters. Like, if your chain's token is your gas token and it doesn't really make sense to tie into everything, then find it. Like, there has to be different models created or evolution. And that's what's got to happen for the future layer ones or the future infrastructure of this industry. Is where's your money maker? Maybe it's not the token, but where does that flow into? Or if it's a token, how do you evolve your tokenomics to be current to now so that that token is something that drives value and can be seen as a decentralized piece of your company?
Mm.
We're in this, like, we are, it feels like we're at that tipping point where in these next 4 years to a little bit after, all those questions are going to have to be answered for this to be a realistic place to go in the future and a realistic industry to drive money into token backed companies.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. I also think in terms of like what other revenue lines do you have aside from just your token, because you
Yeah.
want to be in a position where your business is volatile and you have to experience these cyclical ups and downs constantly. Like nobody wants to build a company that is so unstable like that. So you need lines of revenue that will bring some stability during the bear markets that you will inevitably see throughout the you know growth of the industry over the next several years. Um, and I just hope more teams are thinking about that. I also know the incentive for them to think about that, especially if their token has already been majorly successful and they're sitting on like $100 million or more. It's like, well, why do I really have to care about that? Because I can just kind of coast, and we've got this insane treasure chest that we already have. So why does it really matter that much? But if you're not innovating constantly, then somebody else is going to come in and they're going to eat your lunch. And it's probably going to be an AI company because they are getting stupid amounts of funding right now. They're probably going to take all of your ability to raise any capital if you get into a difficult position. And they're probably going to do all of the things or attract the users that you had previously, because that's what everybody is paying attention to right now.
Yeah. I'm a true believer in major disruption on large corporations over this next 4 to 5 years, with companies coming in hot that are very lean and that don't have the bloat, and they catch any big company that can't move quick enough or isn't willing to change with the times. Some mass disruption of these hype style companies that come out, because what we look at Coinbase, we look at Binance, all those companies, how many employees do they have?
Mm-hmm.
Way more than a hype does. How much do they make? About the same, maybe less than hype does. Well, then the model proves out you don't need that many people to run this company. So I think we'll see that. We see it obviously tech, it's easier to see it quickly, but I think we start seeing that roll across industries as people go, well, if I get the right fundamental people and we utilize AI and different technology, I think we can do this leaner. And then I think we can disrupt this industry and in the next 4 to 5 years actually take out this behemoth with a company that's in some cases maybe a hundredth the size. And you get mass disruption in some of these industries. I think we see that coming. What do you kind of think in that realm of, I don't know, hype kind of breaks the model for me. It kind of shows what could be in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I think it depends. We went through the meta of like, when blockchain was being funded, it was like we're Shopify with blockchain,
Yeah.
or like we're Instagram with blockchain, we're X with blockchain. Yay, decentralize all the things and just add blockchain to the things that already exist. And we're going to take a percentage of these companies. And that didn't pan out. And I think there are a lot of reasons for that, but primarily, like, it's very, very difficult to compete with incumbents. Like, look at Google, for example. Search is changing so dramatically right now. Nobody is typing shit into Google anymore. We are going to ChatGPT or we're going to Claude
Yeah.
and saying, how do I fix my broken garage door? And they're just giving us the answer right there and a little citation. And that's what we're doing. And so you might think like, oh, Google is massively disrupted by these LLMs. But at the same time, what does Google have? They have an entire suite of tools with billions of users That is a massive moat. So they don't necessarily even need search. Like, search is technically not their best business, it's advertising. And
Yeah.
now Google thinks about, okay, well, how do we advertise in this new era if search is not driving the same amount of traffic to our ads anymore? How do we get our ads shown inside of LLMs? Or do we build our own LLM like Gemini, which they did?
Yeah.
So they can immediately get hundreds or billions of users to their LLM, and they've got the resources, the talent, the to compete on basically everything, whether it's an LLM or it's wearables. Like, they just announced glasses at Google I/O. There's so many things that Google can do that a startup, even if it's well funded, can't compete on at all. So I don't think it's necessarily like we're going to use AI or blockchain to disrupt all of these massive companies. I think instead, the better way to think about it is, how do we create entirely new business models, and how do we create companies that couldn't exist before? And that, to me, is the more interesting strategic thinking versus just trying to apply a different technology to an incumbent that is already so far out of your reach to compete with.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, I love the thought around Google and the evolution. It applies so much because I've been so pissed off at Google lately and going into its stupid AI after I ask a question. I'm like, I would ask my AI that I trust more than you if I wanted that. Like, I want the Google style answer right now. That's why I'm on Google compared to Claude. And I've noticed, and I really didn't think about the fact that how much Claude and all of these LLMs are disrupting their traditional Google search, and how much, which 100% of my time when I needed something, I would go to Google just a year ago. Now, maybe 25% of the time, I would go to Google for something, get frustrated, and then go back to the LLM anyway.
Yes, yes, man. Google sucks now. It's so bad. It sucks if you try to Google anything. I can't believe there are still people who are using it.
Yeah, and it forces you into its LLM, and then you're like, wait,
Yes.
now I'm in the sub chat. Where
Yeah.
am I right now?
It's
Get me
so,
out of this chat.
and there's like 15 sponsored ads at the very top that aren't what they're not delivering, like the experience that you wanted. You
Oh,
know,
their LLM is brutal. The second I goes to their AI, I'm just
makes me so
get
mad.
me off this thing.
Yeah.
I'm not using Google's AI. I'm going to the one that matters. But I wanted the traditional search. Just I needed you to spit me out something really quickly. You tried to be what the other platforms were. I hate you even more now, and
Yeah.
now there's less chance I show up for a traditional Google search.
I miss the days when there weren't even sponsored posts at the top
Yeah.
of Google search, because that, to me, it meant something when somebody was sourced as the, even on the, like, the first page. I know I had to search through it, and I had to look through and like find the information myself and do that whole process, and that was annoying. I wouldn't want to do it now. But I knew if somebody was able to like rise to the top of search results, that it was because they had something genuinely valuable to give me versus they just paid for a spot there.
And there's a lot of like sometimes, especially in crypto, somebody pays for a sponsored spot and it's completely a scam link of a big company and they don't vet it well enough.
Mm-hmm.
And because there was that weird transition period where there wasn't sponsored, all of a sudden everyone's clicking on the top post and it's the wrong thing and they're just getting wrecked. And
Yeah.
I hate that pay function to get up there because it was supposed to be the top link is at the top. And so if you're searching for a company, their company is at the top.
Yep. Yep.
So
Huge bummer.
it's odd. I know you have a tight timeline here. Do you have time for one more question, or how is your
Oh yeah,
timeline
let's
right
do
now?
one more.
Okay. So you talked a lot about X and how X Live and X platform you see as a huge growth mechanism, and you see as possibly where live is going.
Mhm.
Give us a little bit of that for us ET lovers, all of us hanging on X, saying,
Oh,
everyone's always saying we're the unks hanging out on the wrong platform. Tell us,
God,
tell us, tell us why X is maybe the place to be going forward.
I love hearing like what stands out to people when I do these conversations. I'm really glad that that one stood out to you because it's a controversial opinion and not everybody agrees with me on this, but I think that X as a potential streaming platform, I mean, I think it has a shot to compete at a pretty high level. I don't think it's going to take over, YouTube streaming or like Twitch, for example,
Yeah.
but I think that the type of content that streaming is just fits so beautifully into the suite of like products on X. So, a few reasons for this. One is because X is the best news platform that exists. It's all about what's happening now. What are people currently talking about? What's trending? Like, that is where you are going to get the news before any other platform. You're not going to get it on YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, anything else as quickly as you will get it on X because it's written content. You can consume it a lot faster and created a lot faster
Yeah.
versus video, which takes time, at least a little bit longer to like create and then have circulated inside of these algorithms. And especially with X having shifted over to a more interest based algorithm, it can circulate news even faster now. So part of it is just the speed of the algorithm on X and the news focus on the platform. Another part of this is that live content is so it's the best trust and relationship development tool that exists on the internet. It is secondary only to in-person events. If you are a brand or building a personal brand and you're never going live, your audience doesn't trust you nearly as much as they would as if you had a live streaming strategy. So, what this means within the context of X is that on X, where you're making all of this written content, you are kind of like removed from the audience, even more so than if you were creating videos like TikTok or YouTube, right? And your distance to the point where your ability to create trust is impacted. And trust matters so much when you're trying to convert people to buy something, when you're trying to share like narratives of either your product or of, let's say you're trying to get people to believe in crypto or believe in
Yeah.
AI or some technology or whatever your marketing goal is, you need trust in order to achieve it. So, live is the perfect tool for this. You've got the high speed news centric content, you've got the ability to generate trust on a platform that doesn't have this inherently baked in. X also has access to an insane amount of compute that they haven't really talked about yet. But I was talking to somebody else who's working with the X Live team, and there's some GPU resources that they have at their disposal that they will be able to use to decrease the like, you know, bumps in the
Yeah.
tech. Like sometimes whenever you go live, whether it's spaces or a live stream, things either don't load correctly or rooms fail, or people get bumped out all the time, and we always say thanks Elon, great. And that doesn't have to happen anymore. They're also investing a ton of time and resources and attention into live. And so basically what all of this means is that if I was working on X, or if I was creating content on X, I would start thinking immediately about how to create a live show for myself, even if it's a quick, like 30 minutes once a week. This is primed to explode. There's a few things that need to happen. Like you've got monetization on X that needs to get a little bit better. You have like, oh, what's the other piece? Oh, a big part of this too is just like video consumption on X. A lot of people talk about clipping and how important it is for content strategy, but on X it's not very good. Even from
Yeah.
TS or A16Z, like you share clips and they're not going to perform very well for a few reasons in the way that like the algorithms rank dwell time and engagement, and the natural user behavior on X is just to read. Like we want to consume really quickly, not sit there and wait for value to be delivered inside of a video. And there is a bit of that user behavior that Nikita and the team are going to have to overcome in order for live to really take off on the platform. But it's just so perfectly positioned with the style of content, like the expectation that everybody has on X, the news focus, the speed, and the compute, like to be able to
Yeah.
actually compete at a high level, which, running live streaming businesses is notoriously expensive, but they have the processing capability to make it happen.
When you look at live stream, even on X right now, I've also felt that they've got to make some kind of adjustment to the, like you said, the monetization piece, where people could be live streaming but not doing a lot on the posting and content side and have big viewership, but the impact is not straightforward on their ways they monetize, like impressions and all these other metrics of posting are. I've also seen, it feels like in the last, it might just be our sector, but it feels like in the last month or a couple weeks especially, the numbers have really shrunk down a bit, and it's hard to find a stream that's got very much live viewership outside of very large accounts, even in the industry, maybe the thread guy or something like that, they can consistent choose rich can get 3 to 6K pretty consistently. Other than that, you're seeing 100 and under very consistently, which wasn't even the case probably a couple months ago.
I mean, even with those examples, they have a lot less viewership than you would expect
Yeah.
because of the way that X tracks viewers. It's not the same as Twitch, where the number that you see, if it's like, let's say 1,000, is 1,000 concurrent viewers, 1,000
Yeah.
people who are there active in the stream at that time. If you see 1,000 on like Thread Guy, or if you see 2 to 6, it's like that's total viewership over the entirety of the stream, not all of the people who are sitting there at one time. So they're
Yeah.
probably averaging closer to like maybe 20 to 40 people who are sitting in the stream, which is quite small compared to if you look at like the broader landscape of streaming, those are very, very small streams. That being said, I agree with you. Streaming right now on X is not in a great position. However, being on content platforms for almost 15 years and being a full-time creator and working with creators and making people go viral as much as I have, the biggest opportunity for arbitrage and the biggest way to leverage or to like create leverage for yourself is by doing something that either isn't performing perfectly yet, but is going to be in a really good position later on. And so
Yeah.
you use this moment where people aren't really paying a ton of attention to experiment at really low risk, really low stakes way, so that you are positioned to be able to take as much advantage later on whenever that thing does become successful. The best way to position yourself to be successful at literally anything is just to be early. If you have first mover advantage, you are way more likely to be successful versus trying to make something work in a really competitive space. So whether it's live streaming on X or even like live shopping, you can still be early with. That is a massive industry that's about to explode. Streaming and like live media, UGC I think is getting relatively mature, but for a while that was a newer one. What else? I'm trying to think of. I'm like always looking at the bleeding edge of kind of distribution tactics. But anyways, if you position yourself to be early, whether it's tactics or to an industry that VCs are actively funding, you are way more likely to reap rewards, to say
I
the least.
think I actually saw you talk too about like a real heavy emphasis on live shopping or live, I guess, live marketing of content for people to buy. I don't know if you're talking purely live or if it was also just content around it, but I think it was live. I was seeing you talk about how, I think it was in your post within the last 24 hours, talking about positioning for being able to sell products on
Mhm.
lives as a huge
Oh,
opportunity.
Oh yeah, it's massive. I first experienced this, I think in 2018. I was like selling courses while live on Twitch, and I made, I think, $10,000 in half an hour selling my YouTube course. And that was like massive money to me at the time. I was like, what is happening? This is crazy. It has gotten even crazier. So if you look at China, for example, they have an entire huge live shopping industry, 24/7 live streams, people who are streaming inside of like every single retail establishment that you can go into. Like, it is such a massive industry that there is even a huge service based industry around it. There are universities where people train live shopping, like hosts, live sellers. There are like agencies that have been active for over a decade, where they not only train people but they like run all of the live selling for you. And the data on this is crazy because people convert like, I think it's 3 to 4x better whenever they are buying from a live stream versus when they're just looking at the website and deciding to purchase something on their own. So you sell more stuff, you make more money, and there's an entire industry around it where people can participate in different ways, whether that's you build a business and you sell stuff live, or you are a host on a stream where you are selling stuff live for a business, or you are doing like advertising, or you're running like promotional kind of campaign. There's a whole world around it in China, and it is a multi billion dollar industry, and it has not made its way to the US yet. It's, I think
Oh wow.
we're like 5% of the growth that China has had. So China, whenever it comes to like technology and innovation, they're 9 times out of 10 they're faster than us at everything. And
Yeah.
we're like China 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So this is a massive industry that's about to explode. I think it's myself and Gary Vee are like the only two people that I can find on X that are talking about this. And every time I post about it, like, people don't really, I don't know if it's not, people don't get it yet. It's not very sexy yet, or if it's just because it's X and I'm not talking about it on TikTok or on YouTube, which is kind of the where most of the industry lives. But it's a massive opportunity.
I love the idea of it. I guess in me thinking about it, even myself coming from a sales background, I love the concept of it. I mean, even the thought of just jumping on a live and selling products, things like that. I love getting hyped up about stuff that I'm interested in or that I think are actually good.
Mm.
And that's a pretty fun thing. But thinking about how I think maybe for me the gap would be where is the creation of it? You know, where is the dot connection between obviously me or other people that are great at selling things or could happily get on camera and do it, the connector into building the connection with the brands to develop the relationship to form the show, or
Yeah.
like you're saying, it's new and it's early, so some of us aren't even sure the concept building of all the tentacles to create that monster service.
What if I told you agencies that do that already exist? They have made $500 million. One agency, this is one agency, has made $500 million over the last 3 years. And they work with over 2,000 creators and I think it was like 10,000 brands. So this is a massively scaled business. They were previously um, a like an SEO agency, right?
Okay.
Specifically for search and advertisements. And then when TikTok Live and live shopping exploded on TikTok, they were perfectly positioned to be able to take advantage of that because they've been in e-commerce and they've been selling things for so long and using ads and literally just selling. So they know the business of e-com. And there are a lot of those. There are dozens of those agencies. Some of them are funded. There are startups that are being funded in this category. Um, there is a lot of opportunity if you know where to look. If you Google or ask your LLM later today about, let's say, a TikTok shop agency, you'll find a lot of them.
It's really interesting to hear. Because I've definitely heard TikTok shop, but just hearing a little bit more of your thoughts, especially around it being established in China, being very dominant, and then obviously it's always easier to buy something when somebody's truly telling you about it, sourcing it. If
Mhm.
I could go on and somebody really breaks it down for me compared to me reading a bunch of stuff, they're definitely two different kinds of consumers, but it's that getting the sales pitch without being in the store and being like the pressure of it. It's like I'm getting this pitch, but I'm choosing if I like it or not.
Mhm.
I see the value in that what people do want, which is a more in-depth, better explanation, some excitement around it, but without the direct line to be a, are you going to buy it now though? Or like how do we make this sale happen today? I've been trying to even get a lease of a car, and you see how poorly trained a lot of these people are when all
Yeah.
right, so how do I get you to sign today? Well, I never said I need to sign today. Like, so why do
Yeah.
you keep telling me I'm like, how do I get you to sign it? Well, signing today is not my problem. Like, that's your problem. So I don't know. It's this like it almost frustrates you coming from the background. You almost want to stop and say, all right, I need to have a different conversation with you because you haven't asked me once what my timeline is. You haven't asked me once what my timeline is. So
Mhm.
if you keep pushing your timeline on me, it's not a good sales tactic because you haven't explained you if you want to push your timeline on me, you need to explain what the benefit to me is of that timeline. And you haven't done that either. So now I'm just feeling like, okay, you keep throwing the timeline in my face, but I don't, you haven't given me the value of it. I don't have that timeline. So now I'm starting to get in a situation where we're on different sides. We're really feeling separate in this, and you want to be
Mhm.
partners. And I've the recent example because I saw that I'm like, you keep hitting me, all these places keep hitting me with timelines without explaining like, if you do it in this timeline, I can get you this much better of a thing. And
Mhm.
if you care about that, then we could do it. If not, all good. We can keep negotiating through whatever. I just it's unfortunate that too many people aren't getting the kind of question asking right behind sales,
Mhm.
and it's developing in my opinion a lot of really bad people on the sales side.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree with you. And it sounds like you need to get involved with TikTok Shop.
Don't threaten me with a good time. You know, I can get on and have some fun on TikTok shop. Yeah, I think it's for a lot of us, it's probably more just that I wasn't even on TikTok until maybe 8 months ago. So I did a challenge where I put 100 as many pieces of content out I could before the end of the year, trying to do one a day just to challenge myself before my daughter came. And that was good, but then I had a little gap when my daughter came. So I am always I love having these conversations because I think there's a lot of people like me as well, where it's not that we've never heard of TikTok Shop, but we've never connected the dot of maybe how it could impact our lives or what opportunities are there within it. And having conversations with you gives a little bit more of that nudge of, okay, maybe there's more to look into here. Maybe there's more value here than I know.
Yes, there's also, and this is gonna be my last flag I'm gonna plant, I swear, because I do have to hop. But um, the opportunity around TikTok Shop is very, very big. Also, the opportunity around Whatnot is very big too. And there are not as many agencies, there are not as many opportunities for people to learn the things that they need to know in order to create really great like sales experience on Whatnot. It That ecosystem doesn't exist nearly the way that it does for TikTok Shop. So there's a lot of opportunity there for anybody who has a skill, who's kind of looking for a new place that is gonna blow up.
This is exactly why we have these conversations. Yeah, we might have dragged you 30 minutes past your time you said you had to go, but we just squeezed as much value out of you as we could with the time we had. So much great information today, so much perspective on content, new media, streaming, where the opportunities are, creator economy within TikTok shop and whatnot. I mean, obviously, we just scratched the tip of the iceberg today with you. How can people stay in touch with you? What are the ways to support you throughout this awesome journey you're on endlessly in content?
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me, and yeah, it has been awesome. Um, just hang out with me on X and interact with my posts. I'm just at Ashley Christ, but if you guys want to follow me from this episode, let me know and I'll follow you back and check out what you're doing because I always am trying to meet new friends.
It's too many people don't realize how simple it is to really make good connections here.
Mhm.
Great shout right there. As simple as putting a little bit of effort into watching some content, commenting on it, liking it. Those kinds of things mean so much to people, especially in content, especially on these consumer platforms, these networking platforms. Be somebody who shows up, put the extra minute into watching something, put the extra minute into putting a good comment, having a conversation, and you never know who you add to your network throughout this time. The opportunities are built in the bear to thrive in the bull. So keep on it. And thank you so much, Ashley, for being here. Follow her at Ashley Christ. I'll put it in the chats as well. And thank you for taking the time and giving us a little extra today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Brandon.
Yeah, have a great Tuesday.
You too. Bye.
Wow, what a resource. What an absolute incredible resource in the content, in the opportunity game there. Really makes her way around different areas of content, different media platforms. It's so incredible to hear from people who have done it well, worked with a lot of different types. I mean, we could have had that conversation go on for hours. We barely scratched the surface of all the work she's done with startups, the difficulty in working with startups and building them out, the amount of impressions she's gotten for her clients, things like that. So I hope you really love the opportunity to listen to her. Definitely, we'll try and get her back on stream later this year, and we can carve out all sorts of questions. Give her a follow at Ashley Christ. There is tons of content she puts out, giving you a lot more perspective, understanding new media, understanding a lot of these different pieces, even videos on TikTok Shop, content on TikTok Shop, how to get involved. So people are looking for opportunities all the time. She laid out a ton of areas that she feels that things are going and how to front run those a bit. One of those being live streaming on X, others being the opportunity to sell products on different platforms, build networks, connect with companies, connect with brands. So we're always going to, I'm always going to look to get the right people on here that have a real elite expertise in certain sectors so that we can understand and get better knowledge in those so that we can be better positioned for opportunities coming up and identify those. And part of being able to know where the opportunities are is talking to great people in sectors that can direct us those ways. So, a great conversation around content, a great conversation on how to position yourself, even choosing lanes, choosing platforms, where some opportunities are coming up that she thinks are underutilized or undersourced. Amazing, amazing stuff. If you have any questions, feel free to send them on over to me. I'm happy to answer something. We'll go for just a little bit longer and then we'll wrap things up because we've been running for almost an hour and a half now. So, yeah. Well, thank you for coming out. Let me know again. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to forward them over. Also, you can send a follow over her way. She'll she'll reply to your comments. She'll reply to your DMs if you have in-depth questions. Thank you so much for coming to the stream. Please go on, like, comment, repost so that everybody can get to the recording that's looking to be there. If you're looking to clip at all, would love to see different people clipping the stream, would love to get connected with people that are clipping. I am always looking for people that are passionate about the stream, and getting their perspective on moments that they loved. It's a big help. I am going to be clipping it as well, and I will put that content out in the coming week. So have an amazing Tuesday. I'm going to go off and do some negotiating myself. I've got my leases up next month, and I want another lease. I'm not a buy car kind of guy. I am a lease person. I'm a bigger fan of renting than owning, things like that. So I'm going to go in, see if I can get myself a new car today. Looking at, I'll give you a little heads up. I'm looking at the Kia EV9. Might be the first one in my family to go for the big car, to fit my brother's family and my family in the same vehicle, and we're going around places. Also looking at the Ionic 9, which didn't know existed. Now I do know. And then also the Ionic 5, the new body style I'm okay with, as it may be a mid-size SUV. So I've got the electric charger at my house. Figured maybe I stick with electric one more run, but I'll go a shorter lease. So that's my adventure for today. I'm also going to most likely hit my go-to banh mi sandwich spot, Chalua, to get the best banh mi in the area with the best bread in existence. I am absolutely starving as I say that. So I'm going to get on that. Have an amazing day. Appreciate every single one of you for coming out. It means a lot. Bear or bull, we're here every single Tuesday and Friday, and we will see you on Friday at noon Pacific Standard Time, 3 Eastern Time.